Hello YouTube and people of the interwebs, welcome back to another Doctor Who news video. Today we've got some quite interesting news about the upcoming Series 14/Series 1 because, it's a soft reboot. This video is going to be discussing the whole new tone and soft reboot that this show is going for because Russell is not retreading what he's done before. The 60th was his sort of farewell to that style of Doctor Who, and it seems going forward Doctor Who's going to be taking quite a drastic turn, which I'm very, very interested in, and we've got a few quotes and articles to break down here today. This is the quote that sparked my intrigue and this video as a whole. Russell says that this is an entirely new take on Doctor Who, more dreamlike, more magical, with Davies describing this episode, well, that episode being The Church on Ruby Road, which is the Christmas special set to air on the 25th of December, surprise, surprise, Christmas Day, this year of 2023. Now, he describes this episode as more like a fable than anything we've ever seen before. This is very, very intriguing and kind of reminds me of how Stephen Moffat was discussing and marketing and talking about Series 5 all the way back in 2010 with that sort of fairy tale whimsical feel, which I think Doctor Who really, really lends itself to. Now, Russell's first era, to say it was naturalistic would be wrong, but it did have a good, I think they called it a space opera. It's sort of soap opera-esque realism in there, blended with the aliens and the sci-fi. And I think we're still going to get that, but it's going to be heightened to a newer degree. We're still going to have lots of stuff set on Earth with real people, real emotive stories, but it is going to be more fantastical and they're going to be delving into more magical things. The Toymaker himself defies the age-old Doctor Who sort of laws of, the aliens have got to have this strict principle and the laws of the universe, the laws of time, all of that sort of out the window with villains like the Toymaker, in which he can just do whatever he wants, like door here, door there, and it's not explained away with, he's using a short-range teleport. It is just, the Toymaker is like a godlike eternal being from outside the universe that sees us as a game, so can do all of that random stuff. And I think Russell also talks in the Doctor Who audio commentaries for the Giggle, and possibly during the Starbeast one, he talks about the fact that in upcoming seasons for Ncuti Gatwa, the Toymaker's legions are going to return. They're going to be back, and they're going to be more fantastical and more out there than we'd expect. Now, I'm assuming that Jinx Monsoon, the famous drag queen who we know is playing a villain in the upcoming season, I think she is going to be entirely musical for an entirely musical episode set with the Beatles. Now, we got official confirmation about the Beatles episode and some other new era stories, but I'll come to that article in a little bit, so stay tuned for that. Yeah, as I say, that's the new tone that Doctor Who's going for. I say new, it's kind of been done in Series 5, but it's going to be fresh, it's going to be Russell's take on the idea, and I'm very, very intrigued. Now, speaking of fresh and new, Russell T Davies has also said, categorically, there are no plans for David Tennant to return to Doctor Who. Meaning, if this is to be believed, because obviously, sort of, rule one of the Doctor and the showrunner, they lie. I kind of believe it, and also, as much as I do genuinely love David Tennant, and the 14th Doctor was so great, I wish he had 6 episodes rather than 3, but that's another debate. I do think it's for the best that, for now, David Tennant is parked. For now, the new Who Doctors, because obviously this is a fresh era, the new Who Doctors, Matt Smith, etc., are parked like the classic Who ones. Sure, bring them back as curators and stuff in years' time. That would be lovely. I'd love a multi-Doctor story with that lot. But also, for the health and the freshness and keeping the show rolling, I don't think it's a good idea to have to rely on these old faces. Now, that's not saying I'd be opposed to David Tennant popping up at some point, but it's looking very, very unlikely as I say, Russell's told the Radio Times and all the people at the press coverage for The Church on Ruby Road, there's no plans yet for David Tennant to return. That's not completely ruling it out, I don't think, but yeah, it's quite apparent David Tennant's not coming back anytime soon, and I do think that is the right call. But here we have another article from the Radio Times. Doctor Who to feature Beatles episode in Ncuti Gatwa's first season. It's getting better all the time, by Morgan Jeffrey. As I mentioned, Russell was at the premiere in London for the Church on Ruby Road, where he discussed a load of this stuff, which is where I'm getting all these content, where I'm getting all these articles. He said, speaking at a screening of 2023 Christmas special The Church on Ruby Road, Russell T Davies hints that an instalment in the following season will see the Doctor, Ncuti Gatwa, and companion Ruby, Millie Gibson, meet the Fab Four. The Fab Four obviously being the Beatles. Now, logistically, it makes sense for the Beatles to be in the musical episode, the alleged musical episode, which we know is now called The Devil's Chord. And apparently that's episode 2 of the new series, so we'll get the Christmas special, we'll get episode 1, then we'll get a musical episode featuring Jinx Monsoon versus the Beatles, which I'm very pleasantly intrigued and excited for. It's going to be different, it's going to be fresh, it's going to be new, which is exactly what Doctor Who needs right now. Speaking of different and completely fresh, the Christmas special is completely different to the next episode, isn't it? And there's one after that, the Beatles, that's just nuts, says Davies. Further details of their latest appearance on the show were not forthcoming, so it remains to be seen how exactly the band will factor into a future episode. I'd imagine they're not there for long, but maybe it's more of a sort of cameo thing. If Jinx Monsoon has put the Devil's Chord, which is a real thing in music throughout history, and it's got some sort of similar effect to the giggle maybe she's one of the Toymakers Legions or something, maybe, yeah, the Beatles are going to be hypnotised or doing something evil, I don't know, we'll have to wait and see how their involvement is exactly going to play out. Let me know if you've got any theories on that in the comments. Having made his debut opposite David Tennant in Saturday's episode The Giggle, Ncuti Gatwa will return as the Doctor in the 2023 Christmas special Church on Ruby Road, airing at 5:55pm on Christmas Day on BBC One. It's weird that it's 5:55, just do it at 6 o'clock. I know TV scheduling isn't easy, but come on, who turns on the TV at 5:55? It's 6 o'clock, surely. Very minor complaint there. Anyway, the special will see the 15th Doctor, played by Gatwa, take over the TARDIS and will be joined by new companion Ruby Sunday, played by Millie Gibson, with the pairing encountering mythical and mysterious goblins. I mean, even the goblins and the design of the goblins and the Goblin King and the musical number that we've already seen, they're screaming new tone, new era and fantasy. I mean, it's been mentioned in another review that it's kind of, I think, was it the Dark Crystal they compared it to? Like all the puppetry and stuff, which, yeah, it's really, really cool to see them using this blend of practical and, like, CG and puppetry it's like what they did with the Meep, to blend all this fantasy Doctor Who stuff together. But yeah, that does kind of bring us to the end of today's video. Let me know your thoughts on the lack of David Tennant in future Doctor Who stuff. Do you think that's a good idea? Do you think that's a bad idea? I mean, lots of you are Tennant fans, so am I, but I do think give Ncuti Gatwa his time to shine. Let me know your thoughts on the whole tone as well. Do you think this is the right tone for Doctor Who to take? What tone of Doctor Who do you personally prefer? Because there's been very, very drastic changes in tone throughout the show's history, which I think is good because it keeps it fresh. But I'll stop rambling, and thank you very much for watching this video. Please remember to like, comment, subscribe, you know the drill, and goodbye.